I had everything: a company, money, a name people recognized. Then she looked up, and her eyes met mine for exactly 1 second. 1 second, and I was the man standing in an empty apartment 9 years ago. 3 hours before that moment, this is where it started. The event was in Midtown, one of those ballrooms built to make generosity feel effortless. Wide tables, soft lighting, the kind of warmth that cost a specific amount per square foot. I'd been funding this event for 3 years. I'd never appeared on the program, never let the organizers put my name in the announcement. That's the arrangement. It works. If people know I'm in the room changes. Questions come, cameras come out. I spend the rest of the night explaining my presence to people I don't owe explanations to. The mask and glasses solve most of that, not because I like the anonymity. I just don't like the alternative. The organizers know I'm here. The guests don't. That's the arrangement. I was near the back wall with a coffee I hadn't finished, watching the room do what these rooms do. Near the main registration table, 2 organizers were moving with the specific urgency of people who had run out of something they needed. I walked over, took an envelope from my jacket, set it on the table without signing anything, turned away. Before I put my wallet back, I stopped. There's one section I keep separate from everything else. One item, a $20 bill, old, soft from years of handling, creased at every fold. I touched the corner of it with one finger, held it there for a moment, didn't take it out. I've carried that bill for 11 years. It belongs to someone I haven't found the right way to repay. I keep it there to remember that I was once the kind of person who needed a stranger's help to get through a specific night, and not metaphorically, specifically. One night, one stranger, $20. I put the wallet away, kept walking. A man stood a few steps away, talking to one of the organizers, dark vest. I glanced. The organizer was nodding. I looked away. I moved through the room, stopped near a side corridor. The man in the dark vest was standing in front of a younger staff member now, voice low, one hand pointing at a clipboard. The staff member's head was down. Her hand tightened on the clipboard just slightly. She didn't let go. A second staff member stood nearby. He'd seen the whole thing. He didn't say anything. I stood there. The man in the dark vest looked up, saw me. His expression shifted. No delay, not a fraction of a second. He turned back to the first staff member. Completely normal voice. Like I said, just walk me through what happened with the count. We want to get this right. The staff member looked up. Something uncertain crossed her face. The tone had changed entirely, and she didn't know why. The man looked over at me, nodded once. "Mr. Hayes, good to see you here." The second staff member looked at me, the specific way people look at someone when they believe that person's the only one who can do something. From behind me, "Mr. Hayes, the Harrington group just arrived. They asked specifically for you." I looked at the second staff member once more. The switch was fast. I've seen that before, the specific speed of someone who's had a lot of practice at it. I saw the second employee look at me, the way people look at someone when they think that person's the only one who can do something. I kept walking. I filed it away. I always remember. What I didn't know was that someone behind me had their phone out. They caught the moment, just my back, just a hand, just an envelope landing on a table. They posted it before I'd crossed the room. I didn't know that yet. I stopped near the center of the room. I was moving, and then I wasn't. I looked toward the far end, the check-in table near the main entrance. I scan every room I walk into. I don't know when I started doing it. It's not a decision anymore,
just the way I move through spaces. I stood there, 3 years funding events like this. I'd never appeared. Tonight, I appeared. I finished what was left of the coffee. I didn't have a good reason for that. I moved to another part of the room. Daniel was a few feet away, back turned, phone at his ear, voice low. I wasn't listening for anything. I had other things in my head. Then, you know, he paid for that kid's surgery last year, the one whose mom couldn't afford the procedure. He made me promise not to tell anyone. I stopped. Daniel, on his call, unaware I was close enough to hear. A pause, him listening. Yeah, that's just how he is. He turned, saw me. Something small moved across his face, 1 fraction of a second, and then the topic of the call changed. Something about a meeting tomorrow. His voice smoothed over like nothing had happened. I held his eye for a moment, then looked at something across the room. He's been doing that for 15 years, adjusting, covering, protecting me from things he thinks I'm not ready to hear, including sometimes things that have nothing to do with danger. I've never asked him to, he just does it. I took the elevator up alone. The penthouse was dark when I got back. I left it that way, 1 lamp near the desk. 3 years in this apartment, nothing on the walls. It's not that I haven't considered it. Every time I try to picture what I'd put up there, I get nothing, so the walls stay as they are. It's a kind of answer, even if I've never said it out loud to anyone, including myself. I sat down, opened the laptop. It loaded slowly, same as always, same as it has for years. Before I started typing, my fingers moved on their own to the side of the machine, near the hinge. I touched the edge, 1 second. Then I started working. I could have replaced this laptop 3 years ago. I made a decision not to. The phone lit up on the desk beside me. I looked at the screen, held it in my hand, turned it face down. I looked back at the laptop. A new email had come in, the notification in the corner of the screen. Sender, Holloway. Subject, Re/BW Fund Q4 allocation.
I looked at the subject line, didn't open it. Holloway sent emails at 11 at night about charitable fund allegations. He did it regularly, sent late like the hour was supposed to communicate something about his investment in the work. I'd read it in the morning. I looked back at the screen. The email still unread. I closed the laptop. He could wait. The door opened across the apartment. Daniel. He's had a key since before I bought furniture. "You haven't eaten since this morning." I was already standing. We ate at the counter, no particular conversation. That's something Daniel and I worked out without ever discussing. Silence doesn't need filling between people who've had enough of it together. We ate. The city made its sounds outside the windows. Daniel set his chopsticks down. Not with any particular expression, just the stillness of someone deciding whether to say something. Then, not quite deliberately, she had this reading of Tolstoy, the way Clara explained why Anna made that choice. He stopped. The specific stillness of someone who'd heard themselves say something they hadn't meant to say out loud. I didn't look up. I set my glass down. "Don't." He understood immediately, picked up his chopsticks. We kept eating. He didn't need to finish. I already knew which name had just come out. I looked toward the window. 9 years I'd kept that rule. Even when her name slipped through, no one continued. Daniel understood that from the first time. A beat. Tonight, I wasn't sure how much longer it would hold. Daniel checked his watch. "The gala's still going. You said you'd stop by for the VIP check-in." I stood, got my jacket. The event started at 6. I said I'd stop by at 8. We took the car back down. In the car, 2 things sat in the back of my head without resolution. The name on the phone screen I hadn't answered. The space that "don't" was keeping empty. I didn't examine either of them. I just let them sit there. The gala was still running when we arrived. We came in through the side entrance. I adjusted the mask, reset the glasses. Automatic. I don't look at the stage at these events. I scan the room first. Know the space before the space knows you're in it.
It's a habit I picked up early and never managed to lose. I scanned, stopped. I didn't know why I was looking in that direction. I didn't know why I'd come tonight. I've funded this event for 3 years. I've never appeared. Tonight, I appeared. I don't have a good answer for that. Julian? Daniel behind me. I was already moving toward the check-in table. A woman sitting there, short hair, straight back, working through a list, the practiced focus of someone who'd been at this for hours and found a sustainable rhythm. I walked up. Hayes, Julian Hayes. She looked down at the list. Her finger moved. She found the name, made a mark, reached for the badge. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known standing in front of that table, was that what was about to happen would stay with me for the rest of the night. She looked up. 2 seconds. The room stepped back. Not gone, just further away than it had been. Like a dial turned and everything that had been at normal distance moved back a few feet. There was the noise of the gala, and then there was this. A face I had spent 9 years refusing to picture, 2 feet away. That was the moment everything changed. Not dramatically, not the way your imagination constructs these things. Quietly. A door and a wall I'd been walking past for years. Open. 2 seconds. Welcome, Mr. Hayes. Her hand came forward with the badge. My hand came up to take it. 1 moment of contact. Her fingers, mine, the edge of the card. I looked down. Inside her wrist, a mark, small, specific. Not a bruise, not something accidental. The kind of mark left by something that enters the same place regularly, often enough that the skin has learned to expect it. She drew her hand back, looked at the person behind me. I stood there. 3 seconds. I know because I counted without meaning to. Then Daniel said something behind my shoulder, and I started walking. Not far. I stopped at the edge of the room. I looked down at my hand, the hand that had just touched hers. 9 years. I thought I was done with that number. The room kept moving around me. I didn't choose to go back, but the way she'd looked at me, through me, like she was someone she had never met, pulled me back to a night 9 years ago. 9 years ago. I came home late. The door was unlocked. I noticed it before I noticed anything else. I always locked it. She usually locked it. An unlocked door meant something without yet meaning anything specific. I pushed it open and walked in. The room was empty. I stood in the doorway for a while. I don't know exactly how long. There was something about the air, the way a room smells when someone is gone from it for good rather than temporarily. Not bad, just absent. The particular scent that had been part of what that apartment meant, something warm, something that would have been difficult to name even if I'd tried, was gone. Just the neutral smell of walls and floor and nothing in particular. The light was still on, the lamp near the window, the one she always left on when she knew I'd be home late. It was still burning. I stayed in the doorway.
Her coat hook, bare. The shelf where she kept 3 books in a specific order, cleared. The chair near the window, gone. Not moved to another part of the room, gone. The small things too. The cup she kept on the left side of the dish rack, always the left. The blanket folded over the back of the couch, the gray one, the one she'd had since before I knew her. All of it removed with a completeness that suggested not hurry, but planning. Not a decision made in an hour, a decision made over days, executed quietly, one thing at a time. I noticed what was missing before I noticed what was present. There's something specific about how absence works. It's louder than presence. You see the empty hook before you see the full one. You hear the silence where a sound used to be. I didn't move for a long time. Finally, I walked in, across the room, to the table in the center. One piece of paper, white, folded once. I'm sorry. This isn't the life I want anymore. No name, no number, no explanation of what this meant or what life she was moving toward instead. I looked at my phone. Her number was gone. I read it 100 times that night, and I understood. That's the piece that doesn't leave. Not the empty room, not the paper, the understanding, the way it settled into a cold, complete kind of sense. She had wanted something else. She had decided. She had left. That was the whole of it. A sound from the table beside me, Someone else checking in pulled me back. The gala, the room. Clara was still at the check-in table, still working through the list in front of her, unhurried, like the last 9 years had taken place somewhere else entirely. I looked at her for a moment, then I went somewhere else again. 1 week after that night, I saw her for the last time before I made the rule I've kept without exception since. Different neighborhood, daytime. I was passing a restaurant and looked in through the window without meaning to. She was there. I stopped. I don't know what I expected to feel. Instead, I just stood there. I watched him. The ease of it, everything arranged in one frame without effort, everything I was still working toward. She was laughing. The specific laugh I had believed was mine in some particular way, not an examined belief, just a fact I'd been carrying. Not performance, the real one, the one that meant something was actually genuinely funny. Then she looked up, saw me at the window, held the look for 1 second, turned back, kept laughing. I walked away. And that was the end of it. That was when I made the rule. That was when I decided that 9 years from now, she would understand what she had walked away from. I spent 9 years making sure she was wrong about which life was worth having. The gala came back, the room at its normal volume. She was at the table, working through the next name on the list, like the past 9 years had happened at a distance that had nothing to do with her. I tried to locate what I'd been expecting to feel, the thing I'd imagined when I let myself imagine it, her here, in this room, in this context, after everything. 9 years. She chose that man and that life, and now she's sitting here, checking in strangers at an event I funded. I wanted to feel what I'd earned the right to feel, but the mark on her wrist, I couldn't set it aside. A few feet away, one of the other volunteers spoke to the person beside her, low, practical. "Clara's ride to the medical center is coming at 8. Can you cover the last 20 minutes? I didn't move. The other volunteer nodded. Clara didn't look up, just kept working. I stood there and put it together. Medical center, the mark, volunteer. Tonight, she has somewhere to be at 8, and she arranged coverage before she got there. She didn't ask anyone to let her leave early. She made a plan. Medical center, the mark, volunteer. 3 things that don't fit the shape of the person I've been angry at for 9 years. I started toward the exit. My feet slowed before my head gave them a reason to. She was standing now. She rose from the table without hurry, that particular unhurried quality, the one I remembered when I let myself remember anything. She said something brief to the volunteer beside her, picked up her jacket. I stopped. She didn't look at me specifically. She looked at the room the way you look at a room when you're done with it, making sure nothing was left behind, a general sweep. It crossed me. 1 second, her eyes landing on mine. She looked away first. I watched her walk to the exit. For the first time in 9 years, I was the one standing there, watching her, not her, me. I stood in that spot while the room continued around me, people moving through the space, glasses collected, someone announcing something from the stage. None of it reached me. The gala kept working, indifferent to the fact that something had just shifted, quietly, without any visible event to mark it. I became aware of my own weight, the particular way you feel your feet when you've been standing still long enough to notice. I didn't move toward the exit. I didn't move toward Daniel. I stood where she had last been able to see me, and I looked at the door she had gone through until the door had been still long enough that looking at it any longer was a different kind of thing. I told myself, not my business. Whatever the medical center was, whatever the mark meant, whatever those 3 things were pointing at, not my business. But I didn't look away until she was through the door and gone. I don't know what she was being treated for. I don't have an answer for that, but I know I'm gonna find one. Emma was in the outer hall when Daniel and I came out. She was talking to Daniel, her hands moving in the way they do when she's working something through. I've known Emma long enough to know when to take what she says seriously. She's a doctor. She says what she's sure of. I stayed a few steps back. They didn't notice me immediately.
She was telling Daniel about a video. Last month, a vendor outside Midtown. A woman with a cart, security moving her along. Someone filmed what happened next. Julian walked over, said something to the security guard, and bought everything left on the cart. Cleared the whole thing. Did he know anyone was watching? That's the thing, he had no idea. I looked at something across the hall. While Emma was talking, Daniel's phone lit up. He looked at the screen. He read. Something shifted in his expression. Not alarm, not surprise. The specific look of someone who has just seen a second piece of something he'd already been tracking. He read it once more. He looked up, saw me looking somewhere else down the hall. He put the phone in his jacket pocket, didn't say anything. I watched Daniel put his phone away the way he puts it away when there's something he's not ready to say. I'd seen that expression before. I didn't ask. The car was out front. We walked out. November cold, that particular temperature that hasn't settled in yet, still negotiating. You okay? Yeah. 2 steps of quiet. About, Daniel said, her. I stopped. He was half a step behind me. I didn't turn. Don't. Slower this time. Not hard. Tired. The word that comes at the end of a long night when you've been keeping something at a managed distance and the management has started to cost something. I'd gotten through all of it. The table, the 2 seconds, the mark on her wrist, the 3 things that didn't fit, the moment at the exit. I'd held all of it at arm's length. I needed one more stretch of quiet, and then I could put it somewhere. Daniel didn't say anything more. We walked to the car. The penthouse was dark when I got back. I didn't change that. I walked to the window. Manhattan at this height has a specific quality at night. It looks like it means something. It doesn't. It just makes you feel small in a way you mistake for understanding. I stood there, let the evening settle. The phone lit up on the ledge beside me. Emma, 11:12 p.m. I looked at her name on the screen, thought about the hallway, the way her hands had been moving when she was talking to Daniel. I picked up. Julian? Her voice, measured. I know you don't want to hear her name. I didn't move. But listen to me once, just once. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize, and if I'm right, a pause, the kind she uses when the next thing matters. You'll regret it for the rest of your life if you don't. I stood in the dark with the phone at my ear. I didn't hang up. I stood in the dark of the penthouse. 9 years. I hadn't let anyone say her name in my presence. That was the rule. Simple. It held. Tonight, Emma broke it. Not by asking permission, with one sentence, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. I hated that the sentence worked. I stayed on the line.